A brief introduction to ontological coaching and its benefits. What is coaching? The ICF, the International Coach Federation, defines coaching as a partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. So what is ontological coaching? Well, Newfield Network has the following definitions. Ontological coaching addresses the concern for more effective action while also addressing the concerns of the human soul that are mostly left out of our learning practices today. Furthermore, ontological coaching taps deeply into inner awareness and potential and helps people to develop new ways of seeing life. One of the reasons I highlighted the learning practices is that ontological coaching really is concerned about a new way of learning, and we'll get more detail of that as we go on in the presentation. Before we begin with ontological coaching, we have a few claims that we'd like to assert. We claim that each of us individually is a unique observer. Not only that, each of us collectively is also a unique observer, and that the observer we are defines how we live and take action. Now, the observer here collectively also includes groups of people in a business setting, in a community setting, in a social setting. So individually we are observers, and collectively we are observers. There are a few components to ontological coaching. The two models are the OAR model, which stands for Observer, Actions, and Results, as well as the BEL model, which are the body, emotions, and language. We tie these together through the speech acts. In a previous slide, I alluded to a new type of learning that we'll be doing within the ontological coaching process. And this is taken in part from the OAR model, which is the observer, which results in actions, and then which generate results. Now, we claim that if we don't like the results we're getting, we can easily just change the actions and hope for new types of results, and we can continually keep doing this in a loop. We call this first order learning. We claim that by going deeper into the observer that we are and by understanding the observer, we generate a more powerful second order learning. And that this learning is significant because we can take what we learn here to generate consciously new types of actions which generate new types of results. In ontological coaching, we claim that through the process of the second order learning and by changing the observer that we are, we create deeper and more profound results in our life. So the observer that we are consists of beliefs, and those beliefs are what create attitudes. Of course, those attitudes govern the actions that we take, and actions provide the results. In the previous slide, we mentioned that those results may or may not be what we want. Therefore, the ontological coaching process helps to develop a new vocabulary of language, emotions, and the physical and body dispositions. So the observer that we are, the OAR model, transforms by creating a new vocabulary in the B, E, and L model. Together we use this with the speech acts to create a new congruency, a new coherence within the coachee. The goals of ontological coaching are to create a new approach to learning. We claim that knowledge is simply not just the acquisition of information, and that rather we want to work and generate action from a new place of wisdom, which we claim is the timely application of knowledge. Furthermore, the goals of ontological coaching are to create shifts in coherence by shifting the body, by shifting the emotions, and by shifting the language, so that we can consciously create a new observer. Here is the BEL model, the body, emotions, and language model. We claim that the physical body itself speaks in a particular type of language. Not only that, it speaks in a particular kind of emotion, and that the way we shape our body determines how we show up to others. Now that we know what our physical body does and the shape that we have, we can choose now to change the shape and to create a new meaning so that we can show up in a different way. Here is an example of the body component in the BEL model. You can see this young lady has 9 different facial expressions. So for example, what do each of the faces represent to you? And not only that, what kind of physical body shape do you think each of these faces has? And of course, what kind of language or what's going on in this young lady's head as you see her photos? Our physical body is very, very expressive. And by knowing what it is that our physical body does, we can come out and we can show up differently as we choose. And here's the E part of the BEL model, emotions. Now, without looking at this photo, just off the top of your head, how many emotions can you name? And how many emotions do you see and feel? And can you see how our emotions shape our language, how moods can shape our body? When you ask this question, how many emotions can you name, we find that most respondents can name about 4 to 6 emotions. Men usually are on the lower end, and women usually are on the higher end. So for example, we have feelings of joy, we have feelings of love, we have feelings of friendship, we have feelings of frenzy, we have feelings of respect. These are several different types of emotions. Now, can you see how each of these has a different kind of language, how each of these have a different kind of body shape? And this is the kind of information, the kind of topics that we'll be exploring within the coaching conversation in ontological coaching. And this is our third component, language in the Bell model. This young fellow here is speaking random gibberish, or that's what it could mean to other people who are not aware of this kind of language. So we ask ourselves within the ontological conversation is, what are you speaking to the world? And not only that, what are you speaking to yourself? So we have both internal and external components of language, and we will get to these and how we can consciously use all of these in a new way to create something beautiful for ourselves. Each of us individually are unique observers, and each of us collectively are unique observers. So just to summarize the two models, the Bell and the OAR model, we say that the observer that we are consists of a body, consists of emotions, and consists of language, and that these are interrelated. One does not come without the other, and that by changing one component, for example, we shift the other dimensions. And this is the unique observer that we are. And the observer that we are generates new actions based on new understanding, which generate results. And now we get into the speech acts, which we use as a tool to elaborate the Bell and the OAR models. We claim that any human interaction between us and another being, whether it's for coordination for action or coordination for possibilities, falls into one or more of these categories of speech acts. Through the proper understanding of what requests are, what offers are, what promises are, and how they relate, we can make new declarations, we can change our assessments, and we can back up anything that we make through these speech acts. So the proper understanding, the proper utilization of these speech acts will allow us to be more effective and come from a place of wisdom and generate a new coherence and a new shift of being within ourselves. Within the ontological coaching process, what we're seeking to do is to create new awareness and thereby create new possibilities and establish a new congruency in our lives. And this is just one of the few benefits of the ontological coaching process. So through the awareness that I alluded to earlier, what we generate are stronger, more deeper personal relationships through the emphasis on the powerful learning that we do. This generates a newfound form of personal growth, which can lead itself into organizational effectiveness and, of course, improve the business relationships within teams, within business units. We live in language. We are like the fish that is unaware of the water of language that we swim in. Broadly, we can break down our language into two components of external language and internal language. And the key of this is whether or not you're actively conscious of how pervasive language is in your life. One of the things we'll be taking a look at within the ontological coaching conversation is a new way of understanding language. And that language not only describes things and has grammar and words and meanings and all that, we find that language itself is very, very generative and it creates new possibilities. Here are a few references for this presentation. Julio Olaya is one of the founders of Ontological Coaching and Newfield Network, the International Coach Federation, Newfield Asia, as well as Marshall Rosenberg for Nonviolent Communication. I'd like to take a moment now to thank you very much for your time and for enjoying this presentation with me. If you like the idea of coaching and ontological coaching in particular, please do connect with me. You can find my email hello@dushanthan.com, my website dushanthan.com, as well as LinkedIn. I consider myself to be a LinkedIn online networker, or LION for short. You can use my email address there, hello@dushanthan.com on LinkedIn, and I'll be sure to connect with you. On Skype, I am mr.dushanthan, and you can reach me on my phone number here. I hope you have a very beautiful day ahead, and I look forward to speaking with you in the future. Thank you very much. Take care.